Hey friends, Pastor Chad here again, our Important As Devotional series. We're going to get right to it. So glad to be with you. I hope it's an encouragement, a blessing, a reminder to you that you do not walk this life, this faith journey alone. We are doing it together, and I'm excited I could be a part of that. Last week I explained to you I was jumping into a new series I want to kind of walk through the Sermon on the Mount, the greatest sermon ever told by Jesus, who unfolds his heart, unfolds God's kingdom, and as he says it, fulfills a lot of this understanding, this Old Testament law, that it was always more about this relationship and this intimacy that we would have and partake with God. And so I'm going to walk through that today. We read this a few weeks ago, but I'm going to read it again because it opens up as Jesus begins to teach on a hillside to these people, these onlookers, this crowd of people. They were quite a bunch, right? There's those who are his disciples who are following him, those who were skeptic, who are wondering, those who are sick and in need. It's all over the map. And basically, he's beginning to unfold what God's heartbeat is to the world. And he says it right off the bat and begins to make this upside down kingdom turn it on its head, because he says things that just are unique. We may seem as normal, but they're not. Let's understand what it is when he begins to talk about who is blessed. And we talked about this weeks ago when we talked about the happiness or being blessed. But today we're talking about the Beatitudes and what they mean. And let me just read to you again some of them, beginning in chapter 5 of Matthew, verse 3. I talked about blessed are the poor, and we're going to get into that later in the week. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are those who are meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will see God. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. He unfolds his heartbeat right now, right off the bat. Blessed are those who are peacemakers, for they will be called the sons and daughters of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted. And he kind of goes through why. And man, this is a unique way of feeling blessed, being poor and merciful and meek and mourning and all the peacemakers, all these things. Sometimes that doesn't seem always as the world defines as being blessed. But the Beatitudes are really a proclamation that when you enter into God's kingdom, suddenly people who were thought to not be blessed, who were thought not to be the ones that God would look to for leadership, the ones who may not have been noticed, all of a sudden Jesus begins to say these are going to be blessed, and begins to rearrange this kingdom idea of powerful to a follower of God who is more about obedience and love and care and compassion and all these things of the Beatitudes. You know, a great example of that is looking at who Jesus invites to be a part of his inner circle. And we're going to talk at the end today about who you've invited to be in your inner circle. But Jesus begins to pick people like Peter and these fishermen, James and John, and all these people. He begins to pick them. These are not the ones that would normally be picked to be the followers of the rabbi or the students of the rabbi. These have already gone back to occupations, back to new ways of living their life, and now they're being called by God. Come and follow me, which is these huge words. And they begin to do that knowing what this call is about. These are the ones who didn't pass rabbi school. They didn't qualify. They weren't enough. They didn't show enough. And so they went back to normal ways of trades and jobs. But Jesus sees something more in them. Jesus always sees something more in us. Today I want you to know that Jesus sees something more in you. And as we see this Sermon on the Mount, I want you to hear some of that. What it means to be blessed. What it means to be a follower. Whether you're past the right age as the disciples were, or you don't measure up, or you just don't feel like you were the chosen. Have you ever felt like you were not enough? Have you ever felt like when you were a part of that group that you just weren't the chosen one and you just couldn't measure up? Jesus still chooses you. That's a beautiful understanding for us to hear today. If you feel that way, you are being called to follow the rabbi as well. You see, they or we or you are not blessed because you have it together or you're enough. We get to be blessed by God because God is enough. Today, I want you to hear those words. God is enough. And there's days that I just feel like, can I sustain through another day? And I have to remind myself that God is enough, not because I am, but because God is. Hey, the Beatitudes to me is a reminder that Jesus sets a table of grace. And you, my friend, you're invited. Jesus sets a table of grace, and you're invited. If you understood your need for grace, then there will always be a place for you at the table. Let me say that one more time. If you understand your need for the grace of God, that your need for it, then there will always be a place at the table of Jesus for you. Today, remind yourself of that you are being invited into the greatest story ever told. You are getting invited to Jesus' table to break bread with him. So a question I had to you, I'm going to end. Every time I want to end with some kind of application or question for you, and it is this. Who are you inviting to your table? Who are you looking to and inviting to be a part, to break bread with you, as it talks about in the scripture, to live life with you, to unfold what's going on in your life? Who have you invited? And maybe it's those ones that you're thinking, well, I'm not sure if they're going to fit with me. Sometimes the misfits just fit just right. Jesus invites you, but he also invites us to invite others to the table of grace. God bless you today.